All right. So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared, and today is December 2nd, 2021. So, markets gave us another sort of sell the rip opportunity. Normally, during volatility, this is more or less the uh, thesis throughout most of the session, albeit the downside was significant yesterday as we had an interesting flip in correlation throughout the morning and afternoon sessions. So, as we're looking at the SPY, ultimately, we're trying to find where the market is headed. And as we know, this volatility has been something interesting to manage, whether you're swing trading or short-term trading in the day time frames. This is new. It's a new market condition that you have to adapt to. And as we've been sort of reiterating this past week, throughout volatile markets, you often want to adjust your trading style to accommodate the new condition. The idea being high volatility can offer the same rewards, but you have to be willing to either step into that volatility or anticipate the likes of the range expansion that we're getting. And that can come with position sizing, option trading to manage and define risk, or just hedging overall. If you're net delta positive in this market and you are not finding these moments to hedge, then you have the inability to withstand some of this downside depending on your location and position size. So overall, the markets are coming into an area of interest that we've been at recently. If we look at the S&Ps, we're actually back testing previous all-time highs. This is something that we saw in the most recent momentum move to the upside. But as we can see, the market has yet to put in any sort of confirmation that a bottom is being attempted or any sort of bounce attempt in the short term. Ultimately, when we look at shorter term time frames, the thing that's on watch right now is something like a short term trend change. As simple as an hourly trend reversal would be something on watch today, as we are getting into those more extreme price levels and the downside move has been more drastic. Obviously, from high to low, we're getting big range expansion and a lack of attempted bounce throughout that shorter term time frame. So something as simple as an hourly trend change. What might that look like? Obviously, we're looking at the lows of yesterday as sort of a risk level for the market as we came into that sort of psychological 450 print on the SPY. A simple trend reversal would be set up by a large bounce, which we did get after hours, and then the likes of bulls defending this low, either with a double bottom or some sort of higher low structure, and negating what is often referred to as moving average resistance, something like a retracement line or just making a new swing high. That would obviously set the stage for a little bit of a recovery against this sharp correction. Obviously, where might that come from initially? That might need to come from what has been a more resilient area of the market, and that, of course, has been the tech sector. Now, when you're looking more short term, it might not look like the tech sector is holding up that well. But when we talk about the relative performance, especially in the most recent run up that the market has had from low to high, the Nasdaq has been a star in this arena. We can also just refer to sort of relative positioning here, as the Nasdaq has yet to even back test its recent all-time highs. So when it comes to that context of, is the Nasdaq a bit more resilient throughout this selling pressure, the short answer is basically yes. While that doesn't necessarily mean that the Nasdaq will lead us to a bounce, it is an area to watch, as the market as a whole is highly dependent on these large market cap tech type stocks. And as you can see, the formation of a possible trend reversal is even starting to form in pre-market. We need to see obviously bulls defending a risk level, either a daily low or some sort of previous support structure, and reversing a short-term trend, something like an hourly downtrend turning into an uptrend. As we mentioned before, the risk seems to be highly concentrated inside of the IWM. We've noted that as with false breakouts in any size ranged market, any market that's been trading inside of a range, the risk to the downside on a false breakout continues to be the lower edge of that range. And while we know this market has a high distribution profile near the midpoint around 220 to 221, we can see that the selling does continue inside of this market, and the risk ultimately will come as we start to breach or expand into these lower bounds, basically coming to test the lower side of this range. Now, as with all theses, we kind of have to talk about different scenarios. Most people are looking at the SPY today and starting to assess the ability for the market to hold its 50-period moving average. This has been a theme inside of the past year when it comes to the S&P and pullbacks. Any pullback on the dominant trend to the 50 period has been excellent buying opportunities, albeit we need to ultimately define our risk whenever that is not the case. The likes of this most recent September correction being a prime example. And as we are coming in pretty hard and fast to this moving average, this is a moment in time where we can start to assess how the market is responding on this most recent correction. Some things to look at are how deep has this pullback been from high to low. For example, the September correction brought the market down approximately 6.25% from high to low. And if we assess the same parameters in our most recent pullback, we're looking at approximately a 5% correction. So if we're talking about relative percentages here, the market ultimately could have a little bit more downside. And all that would be doing is simply reflecting what we just came from, which was a month or a month and a half of downside movement, obviously led by a very impressive and momentum-driven move to the upside. Very notable that this market not only recovered its most recent correction very quickly, but we had very little in the way of pullbacks. We didn't really set up a lot of balance zones, and that allows the market to correct very quickly through these areas as there's no precedent of value. There's no sort of assessment where the market deemed prices to be fair. Now, all in all, these are just short-term plays for the most part, but if you're wanting to step into this volatility, if you're basically saying, I see better risk to reward at these levels to be a bull as opposed to a bear, then ultimately there's a few ways you can go about it. One is, of course, stepping in small, basically saying I might not necessarily have the bottom exactly pegged, but I'm willing to take a little bit more downside risk and potentially average in to a full size position to basically provide a better price level or average price. If you're an options trader, you're obviously trying to look at how this volatility is affecting your trade inside of index products or even stocks. And one simple way to step in with sort of that low risk, low reward mentality, basically you're assessing the volatility, you're uncomfortable with going in pretty heavy, but you still want to take advantage of this opportunity. One way to do that is to go in with vertical spreads. And how you construct these really depends on your sort of parameters of where you see the opportunity to the upside or even continuation to the downside. But one simple way to construct a vertical spread, excuse me, is simply to go to the close to the at the money strikes and construct something very simple that comprises components of extrinsic and intrinsic value. For example, if you wanted to be long the Nasdaq, for example, something as simple as a $2 to $3 wide at the money or sort of an inner and outer spread can provide you a bit of long exposure while significantly protecting your downside, as the market has yet to really put in any significant bottoms as of late. And ultimately, what you'd be wanting to capture here is one of those moments where the market gaps up, everything seems to be in the all clear. You're able to basically close your position on a very significant move to the upside. And even if the market does fade or sell that gap up, you're able to basically come out unscathed and actually a bit profitable while still being able to step in at the right price levels, basically buying into this weakness and capturing the volatility. So real simple, something like a $2 wide would be something like a 386, 388 based on yesterday's close. You're basically buying some intrinsic value, the likes of your 386 purchased call, and then selling some extrinsic value, the likes of this out of the money, but very close to the at the money strike, 388 call. And of course, you can sort of play around with these at different price levels, depending on how the market shifts today, kind of getting your debit to an acceptable amount of risk. And understand that this is not shooting for the fences. This is basically just trying to get on first base. We're trying to basically get a little bit of long exposure, but significantly protecting yourself if the market continues to pull back. And then finally, of course, one way to avoid some of this risk is basically to not trade at all. Ultimately, this market condition may be a bit new to a lot of traders, especially those who are not in trading the market throughout something like September, something like March, where we had another significant market correction, or even trading during the initial COVID lows. That market condition was very new to a lot of people, and ultimately a lot of people were unable to handle that type of risk. While this feels very akin to some of those moments in time, it could be near its end if we start to see the market basically stabilize near these correction lows, these swing high back tests, or basically just if news cycles start to stabilize the market perception of this fear. And whether you decide to do that in regards to reducing your delta exposure, obviously the hedging approach is what a lot of people have chosen to do. And then from a day trading perspective, obviously we have the advantage of being delta neutral or net cash every single session. So our ability to sort of step away from the after hours volatility, from these large gapping events, and basically avoid what has been a couple of sessions of unforeseen volatility. Now, when I speak about volatility, what does that look like currently, and how can we sort of quantify those numbers? Well, obviously, a lot of people are still looking at the VIX. VIX remains in an elevated state. We have yet to see this volatility come off. And from the perspective of a technical chart, it almost looks like a breakout. So while the VIX doesn't necessarily trade like other assets, and while this breakout is more or less just lines on a chart, we need to understand that these price levels in the VIX are not, they're not to be ignored, nor are they to be disrespected. The volatility, of course, being what we saw at the beginning of the week. Market was pricing in about 155 point expected move on the SPX. I've gone ahead and adjusted that price level back to the initial values that we saw at the beginning of the week. And when we look at this, the market ultimately said, hey, this week is going to be large range expansion. We are pricing this in for the week ahead. And ultimately, that range expansion has been to the downside. It also means that while it feels as if we've made a significant move, the option market actually priced in more. So being able to withstand what is a normal expected movement on the week is being advertised by the option market in regards to a 44.40 downside expected move for the end of this week. And that continues to be the case because that volatility has yet to subside. And if we look at the current expected move on the week, in the next 2 days, the option market is still pricing in a 78-point expected move. This is what we normally see at the beginning of the week with a 5-session time frame to basically capitalize on that risk. And yet now we're looking at 78 points, and our market, of course, is getting a little bit of a bid this morning. But if we just look at our last price, that can bring us down to that 44.40 or even slightly lower as volatility has expanded a bit more. Some other ways to sort of quantify this type of volatility, if you're familiar with futures, then you know that some things or some qualities of future-based products are whether or not the term structure is in what's often referred to as contango or just sort of a normal term structure. Often you're going to see the shorter month contracts, usually the active month contracts, trading at a lower premium. And as you go further out in time, you should see that price slightly increase, basically providing that normal curve. Longer dated contracts costing more, shorter dated contracts costing less. Just like the bond market, whenever this starts to flatten, then obviously the change in risk perception and the relative risk in the short term starts to get closer and more appreciated inside of the active contracts. So what you will see is something like your active contracts getting close in price to the next month or the next series. And then worst case scenario, whenever this inverts, this is when backwardation comes into play, and this is where shorter dated contracts are actually trading at an elevated premium compared to backdated contracts. Now, most of us are not necessarily direct futures traders, but what this does do is it affects how these products that use futures contracts inside of their structure, how the ETFs and ETNs are constructed. This is how these products appreciate in value, especially in the short term, as they're having to essentially adjust their portfolio relative to the amount of contracts they hold, and they're constantly buying longer dated to sell their shorter dated usually on a daily basis to reflect the short-term volatility that we're seeing in the market. So something like a UVXY, which is trying to capture some of that volatility term structure change. And we, of course, see it as appreciation or upwards movement in this ETN. Same idea with VXX. And then, of course, once this does settle down, something like a short volatility, I believe this is the right one. Yep. Will start to appreciate once again. This normally sees these large volatility spikes to the downside as the VIX and the volatility futures are rising and the term structure is changing, at which point ultimately the opposite will take effect, and this could be a potential long hedge essentially as opposed to a short hedge, or a way to capture a decline in volatility or a decrease in volatility. So obviously there comes with some risk to holding these products for an extended period of time. You need large movements in order for these things to basically capture that sort of hedging structure. But the concept is basically the same. Whether you use VIX as a way to trade options, as a hedge. You're using these ETFs and ETNs to capture short-term sort of spikes and declines inside of volatility. Or, as we've mentioned before, you're actually going and saying, I want to be short the Nasdaq. And instead of using QQQ, instead of selling NQ futures or even using options, you actually go out and buy a product like SQQQ, which has some of that beta exposure and that sort of derivative leverage. So all in all, we are still basically in the trenches. Nothing really has subsided. Nothing really has changed relative to yesterday. And while I don't have an example of what this looked like, one thing to really take into account yesterday is during the morning session, during our gap up, if you are looking at something like S&P advancing and declining stocks. So this chart would normally show during the morning session things like which of the S&P 100 stocks are going up, which are going down, advancing or declining, the type of volume as an aggregate into each of those buckets of stocks, and then the type of capital flow. Basically, if you're having a lot of advancing stocks, the volume is something like 3 or 4 times compared to the declining. And obviously the capital flow is also confirming that volume expenditure. Then you often will refer to that market as relatively bullish. You'll often look for the market to trend. And that's exactly what we saw at the beginning of yesterday's session. In fact, the market was so strong and so correlated at the beginning of the session that we had what is often referred to as a pegged market. And what that simply means is almost every single stock in the S&P 100 was not only advancing, but the capital flow was actually increasing that number over the morning sessions. We started off at about 88. We got to about 96 by the top of yesterday's trend. So this became basically 96. This became about 5 because Google does represent 2 particular names. And of course, our 101 for optionable stocks. Over the course of that sell-off, obviously things change very drastically. And it's one thing to say that yesterday was a big sell-off, but it's another to say that the market went from a fully correlated upside trend into a complete rollover, rounded reversal. Basically, everything swapped to the downside. And by the end of the day, we went from 96.5 to about 24.77. Near the end of our session, we actually almost got to fully correlated to the downside. All of our volume, of course, swapping. We had about 4-to-1 on the decline. And then our capital flow, of course, swapped as well. So it's a notable reversal. It's not something to basically step into with full reckless abandon because the market is giving us risk right now. And until that risk subsides, until we see really good stabilization of price, along with a willingness to recover from key support areas, basically to give us some sort of technical confirmation, a market will continue to do what it needs to do to stabilize whatever is occurring behind the scenes, whether it be hedging, whether it be people who are short volatility, i.e. people being firms. They're going to reduce their risk until they are done with their risk. And what that means is we as retail traders have little to no control of how deep that needs to take place or how significant that downside looks like, because that hedging is what ultimately brings markets down. Now, last but not least, as we get into the last couple of minutes here, we also need to be aware that we do have some continual risk in asset classes like bonds. The TLT is coming into its range high. Ultimately, this has been a great area to fade or short this market. But one thing that has been different on this run up is the size of the bullish volume and the continual push to the upside as the market is correcting. Now, normally in this environment, you would say, well, great, we've seen this before. We've seen moments in time where the market is sort of risk aversive, bit more risk off, and certain sectors are going to be the outperformers once everything stabilizes. The likes of tech, consumer discretionaries, and even things like real estate and utilities and shorter term plays. Certain things are not necessarily lining up in that regard at this moment due to the amount of hedging activity we're seeing. Market is simply selling everything, usually at the same time. And when that occurs, oftentimes we need to look for things like a high volume sort of spike, the end of the selling pressure and the end of the hedging, usually in the form of some sort of capitulation type event. That's usually when a lot of leveraged longs, a lot of very significant hedging activity reaches its peak, and everything seems like it's never going to end until, of course, it does. And we get larger spikes, both to the downside to sort of finish that transaction, along with significant bounces to the upside. Now, I don't have a great example on the S&P chart at the moment. We could sort of refer to some things like some recent gap down lows that led to big bounces. It kind of looks like volume spikes on the selling side, leading to significant recoveries. They're not necessarily the end of the downtrend, but they are trading opportunities. You can also see that on more relevant pullbacks to the 50 period. And one example that actually occurred yesterday from a shorter term perspective was the likes of AMC. We actually saw AMC break down from its most recent trading range. If you look at the volume difference here, what does capitulation look like on a chart? Well, I would argue that yesterday AMC had a possible capitulation event. As the market was selling, we were losing things like weekly and monthly supports. As we were breaching the 200, everything was starting to accelerate to the downside. If I pull up a 1 minute, you can see that the size of these moves, along with the eventual selling volume reaching its climax, leads to those more parabolic sort of extreme reversals, the type of trading events that we want to take advantage of from a short-term perspective, or even use them as risk parameters for swing opportunities. So what this may look like in regards to the market as a whole is we may need to see one of these events for the selling to end. We may need to basically see everybody sort of give up at the same time, and that eventually will set a low that we can use to trade against for the remainder of the next couple of weeks. So as we look for that event, as we sort of prepare for worst case scenarios, as we talk about the idea that if you are in this market and sort of stressing the downside volatility, ultimately understand that there's a few ways to protect yourself. Use this as every correction as a learning opportunity. Understand that this is not just a one-time event. We've seen this before. It's likely to continue happening as we move forward throughout the rest of the year. And with volatility elevated, understand that being hedged and protected early is your best bet to avoid the sort of risk that the market continues to provide to the downside. So with that said, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. Hopefully everybody is loving the volatility, hopefully to some degree taking advantage of these shorter term plays. And as the market sort of gives us new signals for today and Friday, let's step into those signals with confidence. Let's understand the downside perpetual risks that we continue to see. And ultimately, let's let the market tell us where the bottom will start to form if we see that bottom in the next couple of days. So with that, trade safe. We'll talk more next week. And as always, keep it green.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the pre-market prep. I hope you guys are having an amazing morning. Hope you guys had an incredible day yesterday with all the wild action that we are getting. Good morning, Peter. How you doing today?
Huh?
Man,
Oh,
hi.
hey, um, how's it going? Hey, yeah, you might have noticed I'm stepping in for Norm here. He seems to have some technical difficulties while on the road. So, good morning, Carlos.
Yes.
How are you?
Doing very well, man. Doing very, very well. Guys, I mean, let's look at some stuff from yesterday. Yes, a lot of the moderators traveling today. Some started yesterday. So safe travel, guys, as you guys get ready for that Vancouver meetup. And Peter, when are you traveling? When are you heading?
Um, I leave just before the close today. So,
Okay. All right. Very nice. Um, Guys, let's get into it. A lot of stuff happening in the markets this morning and starting this all this week, really. Looking at the spy yesterday, so funny. Jerry went through a lot of this stuff already. One of the comments that we had was from Brian. Brian says he texted us and he's like, "Guys, before getting on the plane, everything looked fine. I land because he's in Mexico, and the sky is falling on the overall market. So how quickly things are changing. Let's take a look here at a CCL this morning, which is up again yesterday, guys. Just incredible drops on everything. Everything was down. So if you weren't sure, you should have had a pretty decent day, especially around that 12 o'clock time frame. Here's American Airlines we had on deck. We have mRNA, which mRNA looked good to begin with for a short. And yesterday, a nice little drop there. Not as big as some of the other stuff we have seen, like AMD, Lucid. I mean, we can go through the entire list. Everything, guys, just dropping down. It's the overall market taking a bit of a hit here, especially the travel companies. So that was the action yesterday. That was action. Twitter. I mean, the entire list, guys. The entire list. Even CRM, which doesn't trade very well, was a short. So this morning on our gappers list, we have a ton in the green. So a couple of things bouncing back a little bit here. Some names that we like, others that we know trade very horrible. But we will get through this and see what we can find here for us. Peter, overall SPY information for today. What do we have coming up? Oh,
oh,
you're on
let's
mute.
get off
There you
mute.
go.
Yeah. As Jared outlined this morning, it was such an interesting afternoon yesterday that we changed from that bullish trajectory, very clearly put us back into sort of a negative point of view, but the market is gapping up again. So, who knows what to expect? I think the best thing you can do is have a flexible trading strategy, guys, and let the market tell you what it's thinking based on the price action. From announcements today, I'm waiting on jobless claims. We should have them out any minute now. I do not see the numbers yet, but they're supposed to be coming out at 8:30. A couple of speeches from bank feds, but that should not impact the market. So generally a quiet day, just depending on what the market action brings. I think it's going to be fun, but let's see.
I am with you 100%. Definitely going to be interesting. The volatility is great for us day traders, and I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun today as well. All right, let's take a look here, guys. Over on YouTube, please make sure you hit that thumbs up. We appreciate you guys very much supporting the channel. Also, let's give Jared a thumbs up for coming on every morning, very, very early to give us an overall view of what's going on with the market. So he does an amazing job there. With that said, let's take a look at our gappers list this morning. But first, I'm getting a lot of questions on how to link trade ideas. And I know we've done this plenty of times, but I purposely did not do it today so I can show you guys how this is done. It's a little bit tricky. If you come over to Trade Ideas and you click on Tools, you're going to come down to External Linking. Now, here's the tricky part, right? When this window comes up, just click on Add Link, and then don't go and click on where you want this to link to. So, for example, here's my montage up here on the top right. If you want to link this montage, right, this space here where you want this to be populated, and you can do this with Dash Trader Pro, you can do this with any other platform that takes any kind of text like this. Don't click on it. Just kind of take your mouse over without clicking. Just put it over where you want it, and without touching anything, just hit Shift, and this is going to populate the information you need. Just come right back down and hit OK. If you come here and you hit Add Link and you click on this, you're going to get this error, right? You don't want to click on it. Just take your mouse over, hit Shift, and then come back, and you're all set to go. So that is linked there. Let's come back over here now. We can come to our gappers list. You can click on this, and it's basically taking that text and throwing it in the spot with the field that you want to put it in. All right. All right, let's take a look at the first one here. DWAC. DWAC this morning. We've seen this before. It's a horrible trading stock. They are up 20% today, 1.3 million shares traded. I just don't know how clean this is going to be. Slightly lower float sitting at 28 million. Do you have any news on this that might make this a little bit more interesting?
Yeah, so just as a reminder for everybody, if you look back right at the beginning of that chart, Carlos, this went IPO back in November, or was it October? It was late October.
Late October, yep.
Late October, and we had about 3 or 4 days of very interesting trading because this is the Trump group of companies, and it's really operating as a SPAC. It traded well for a couple of days. It was a lot of fun and just crazy stuff. And then, of course, it leveled out, as most of these do, and gave us nothing. There is news this morning that they're seeking some additional funding from hedge funds, and that's got a little bit of interest. As we can see, over 1.3 million shares traded this morning. Whether it will start to trade again or not, I don't know. My gut is that it's just a little bit of pre-market euphoria, and things are going to level off, and it, again, will be a bad trader during the market hours. But I could be wrong. We'll just keep an eye on it in case.
Yeah, I'll put it as a more of a possible, but I'm going to add it over here to our risky pile, guys. Just be very careful. I hope to find something a lot better than that this morning. Heading down, we have Snow here, and they are up 13.8 this morning after a big drop. Was that yesterday? Huge drop yesterday here, as you can see, recovering a little bit here. Hasn't been doing too well the last 3 trading days. This morning getting a little bit of a pop. I don't like the daily as much on this. Also, if you look at the overall volume on this stock, it is very light. Very, very, very light. The last couple of days, we've seen a slight increase in that, especially yesterday. But still 6-7 million for a stock that's moving from 340 from 310 to 340 or vice versa, whatever you want to call this. It's not great. So I'm concerned with how the price action is going to be on this one, how the order flow is going to be. That type of volume with that move is usually could be very choppy. So I'm not a fan of it, guys. I'm not going to add it. Again, I feel like today we can really just take our watches from yesterday. Right, we could take Apple, AMD, Nvidia. You could just keep your watches from yesterday, and you probably do okay because all these big companies that we've been watching are going to be in play again today. I guarantee you that. So we're going to be very picky here.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Carlos.
Yeah.
I mean, that the big stuff is going to be moving. We saw Apple, which had remained strong. And again, Jared mentioned this in entering the markets. Lose some altitude yesterday, so it finally had a little bit of a drop. Was it massive? No, but it was enough to say maybe we're going to see a little more movement today. So yeah, we'll keep an eye. Obviously, I'm going to be watching AMD, Tesla, Apple. Like the usual suspects, Microsoft. Let's keep an eye on them and see what they do because I think they may set the tone for the market.
Yeah,
to Snow that you just mentioned. Yeah, the price action is bad. It did have earnings and a positive forecast outlook. That's why it's gapping up. But like you said, when you look at a daily like that, where it sort of was moving down heavy, and then suddenly earnings pops it back up above, sort of what it was doing in the last day and a half. Yeah, that sort of makes me nervous. The price action, as you said, in volume is pretty low this morning, so not something that's going on my main list at this point.
Yeah. Let's go to the top 5 guys here. Then we're going to start kicking out some names that we know are going to be in play here. So we looked at the first 3. DWAC is probably a possible here as far as a lower flow stock. CMMB not looking good. Again, just thinking about the stuff that's going to look better. That's not it. SPR also not looking great. So we'll get through that one. KR, we've seen this before. And I don't, this is Kroger. Yeah, they don't trade very well. Yeah, they're a very tough stock to trade. I prefer to watch something different today, like a BA. Let's see what BA is doing. They're probably moving very well this morning, up 5.4, 977,000. Yeah, I like this one today. We'll add BA on here. That is good. Piton is up 4.5. It's been kind of stuck in this range lately, right? The last couple of days, it's kind of stuck between 48 and 44. Not a bad range, but again, there's no breakouts or continuation plays on this. It's trying to hold this support, which is nice after a nice drop here in November. I just don't think it's a main one for us this morning. So let's stop here. Let's take a look at what's gapping down today. Yeah.
Just on the gappers up, you skipped over Boeing. It may be an interesting one. They had some news out of China
Hmm.
where they were declared the 737 Max, which we all know has been a beleaguered model for them,
Yeah.
was declared airworthy in China. So that paves the way for their return to flight within the Chinese airspace. So if you look at yesterday's chart, I mean, it was just down, down, and more down, right? Just all day. But with maybe a little bit of more positive view on the market and that news, Boeing could be an interesting play.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I do have, yeah, we just have Boeing on here as well. So I have them. I like
Oh,
them
okay.
this morning. Without knowing that news, even their pre-market action looks great. The fact that they have
Yeah.
some news behind it, that I like that as well. So 988,000, which is great volume for them. They're up 5.2. This is looking very good this morning. All right, so heading down here, we're going to skip on the rest. Let's look at what's gapping down. CNTX, I believe we've seen this before. Not looking great this morning for a low flow, very light volume down as well. Looks like it had some fun yesterday and the day before. Today, not looking great. BNTX, another one that's, I just think this thing is horrible to trade, guys. So be very careful with this. Volume is very light. You're dropping through a couple of, look at the range, right? We're talking about 335 here, previous day close, and this morning's high. We're down to 320. Right now, volume may increase. That's with 154,000 shares traded. Your spread is about $1 and change. I mean, can it get better at the market open? Absolutely, but I don't think by much because look at the daily volume here. You're not getting a whole lot of volume for the type of move that you're getting on this thing. Here's Apple we have on deck, guys. Just a beautiful pre-market action. 3.3 million shares traded so far. That is looking very good. mRNA, we're probably going to add mRNA as well. More of a possible, I believe, but I think it's good to look at here. Look at the pop here. Even with the market drop, right? Whatever's happening here is not helping mRNA, so we'll put it on here. mRNA. QCOM is usually not a good trader. Pre-market action is rather interesting as well as the daily. Peter, is any news on QCOM today?
I was just looking at Apple because I'm sort of interested. They're throwing out news on Apple now, but we can come back to that. On Qualcomm, what is going on with it today? Yeah, well,
It just
there's a
seem a
bunch
little
of
bit
news.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of news on it, but nothing that really is significant. Like it's a lot of they're issuing new products. They got a new
Mhm.
category of gaming devices they're planning to release. There's stuff like that the companies, especially large companies like Qualcomm, tend to release, but nothing that I see that's specifically taking Qualcomm lower this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Interesting. Well, all right. Well, I'm gonna put as a pass. I just like the way this is looking here a little bit. Again, they're not great. I don't think it's gonna be a main one to watch, but just rather interesting there. All right, guys. Before we get to our chat, we know we have a few that we have to get through that we know we're going to be watching. AMD has been amazing. We're gonna put that on there. We know Nvidia could be a nice secondary for the tech sector as well. I got AMD up here. I got Apple. Nvidia definitely in play. I mean, just you can see the theme kind of going here. CCL on our list for sure. Again, just taking the stuff from yesterday has been trading well all week. American Airlines, another one that we're going to have on our list. United Airlines is going to be one of my secondary here when it comes to airlines. But American has been trading very, very well, guys. CCL, look at it here, very, very well this morning already, both with amazing volume. AMD, 631,000. That's great volume for AMD pre-market already. So that's looking good. Peter, any other stocks that I might have missed that are going to be uh,
Well, we can't forget to represent the electric vehicle sector.
EV?
Lucid is the one that I
Yeah.
generally like best, and it's
Hmm.
it's looking pretty good so far this morning. So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, that's the one I'd put on the list.
All right. Excellent, guys. We're all done. Thank you for joining the pre-market prep. We are set here. We have our list. We can we can cut it short and move on to other
You just gotta
things.
do it. And we're done. And we're out.
uh, yeah, no, but seriously, guys, it is just an amazing list here already with the stuff that we've been looking at. Let's take it to the room. What do you guys like this morning? Cameron, you're giving us Lucid. That's on there. Chris, MC, AMC, and Allo. So a little bit different here. Let's take a look. AMC taking a nice hit yesterday, but it was overshadowed by other stocks that we were looking at that were having this drop as well. This morning they got some good volume here, 1.1 million. Could be interesting on AMC, especially with how explosive they can be. I have not looked at them in quite some time. Again, with the increase in volatility, bigger stocks, right? have taken over some of these smaller stocks that are moving very well. So AMC, very nice here. Onshore selling restriction. Yeah, so more of a possible there. And then I see a lot of you guys throwing out ALLO, ALLO, and this one, Chris MC. Let me check and make sure that's the one you're giving me. Brian is giving me that too. Brian L.
Yeah, a couple of people are mentioning
Huh.
it.
Fill me in, guys. What are we seeing here? Because this is a no for me at the moment. But you guys must have some news you guys like on this today. But so
Yeah, I don't
throw that
There
out
was some
there.
news yesterday about them talking about their phase 1 results. This is another one of these biotech companies. Phase 1, but I don't know. I don't see why it's that exciting this morning myself. I'm not liking the look of it pre-market whatsoever.
I think they just wanted to hear the no on this. So okay. Gotcha.
Naked.
All right.
We'll take a look at Naked, could you?
What is it? NAKD, right?
AD.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Oh,
It's the one that's
man.
like it's
Yes.
currently trading at
Yeah. It's horrible. All right. What else you guys have? So we're having some fun today. That's very good. Meow. Yeah, that's not even coming up. That's not a ticker. IMGN. No. This is no good. This is not nice. Neo. Lucid, guys, is the one I'm going to look at. Neo is, again, could be explosive, but Lucid is the one that's taking just all the glory when it comes to EV here, guys. Look how great this thing is trading. 1.3 million, down 1.6. I mean, how can you beat this? Maybe Tesla's doing some stuff here. Even Tesla looks more on the choppier side of things, right? So
Tesla's at the bottom end of this daily range that it's been in. So I was expecting pre-market, if it was really going to sort of break down below the range, then I thought let's go, right? It could be a lot of fun. But for now, I don't know. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. I think this is going to be one of those markets, Carlos, where we're going to enter in the pre-market with one list, and probably an hour in, we're going to be trading totally different stuff.
Yep. I fully agree. All right, guys. Anything that looks again, it's got to look better than the stuff we have on our list already, which is not easy to do. MU could be exciting too. You can have MU as well. It looks very good in the pre-market, 309,000, down 2%. But again, when I throw this up against AMD, I mean, just look how much better this thing looks. And we know AMD has been trading very well in the past. BA here also looking nice. Apple looking especially amazing this morning. So Khaled, you're giving us OMER. I see some volume on here. We had this in our list before. OMER. I don't recall it trading it or how well it traded. It is not a low flow, sitting at 60 million.
It comes up every once in a while. I don't think I've ever traded it. I've never found what I'm looking for in it. So this morning they do have some news about they're selling one of their franchises, for a little over $1 billion. So that's sort of the news behind it today. But whether that means it's going to trade well, no idea.
Yeah, it doesn't quite exactly mean that. So all right, guys, I'm going to go ahead. Let's take it over to YouTube. Let's pick a few from you guys. What do you guys have this morning? Puppet Master, longtime viewer over on YouTube. Lucid, we have on deck already. John, OMER, we're looking at that one now. And again, it's got the volume. We're up 30%, 4.3. Let's add it on here next to DWAG. Let's see if it can do something explosive today, but not a huge fan of that one right now. What else we have, guys? Mara, Sonny's giving us Mara over on YouTube. Let's see. Mara this morning, pretty much flat right now. Not a whole lot of volume, only 100,000 at the moment. So again, don't see a whole lot going on with Bitcoin there. GRAB, see a lot of you guys throwing that one out. I'm not sure that's a ticker. It's not coming up, or no, it is coming up. Is it a recent IPO? What is this? Oh no, it's not.
No, I don't think so.
Or it is, or it's not. I only have 1 day on this, which is today.
I don't know.
Crab. It looks like crap. So we might not be able to watch this one today. I don't see anything great on this. Is my chart correct though? So is it IPO like this morning, which will be very weird? Is it? Do you have the same thing on my end?
Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing where I have pre-market data only and nothing for yesterday. There's been a couple of these. The IPO type things are really weird. Do you remember OP? from
Yeah,
yesterday, I
OP,
think it was,
yes. Mm-hmm.
right? Where
Yep.
it opened and it was never on any of my IPO lists. Don't know how they did this. It's sort of strange how these are happening. This looks like another one because you're right. There's only pre-market action. I've got nothing for yesterday, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know what to make of that. Like, what can you do with that? You've got zero history, and we don't know anything about the company.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Um, all right, I think we're set, guys. Two more on over here. Let's take a look. RCL, and yeah, RCL is a cruise line. I have CCL instead. You can look at this one as well. A little higher price, moves a little bit slower. NCLH, you can look at that one also. PLTR this morning. What do we have going on here in PLTR? They have some decent volume, 900,000. Again, the drop is on everything yesterday, so not too much credit for this here. This morning's pre-market action does look good. Their daily coming up in a nice area of support here. Yeah, could be something. POTR. Possibles list though. If you look at our main list, I don't see a whole lot that can beat that right now. Here is plug. Plug could be plug could be interesting too. A little bit lighter on the volume, but their pre-market action is not bad. Their daily's not bad. We can add them here as a possible. I mean, these are some that can replace like a QCOM, right? We have QCOM here, but we know how bad and choppy they can trade, so we have it on here just in case. So, all right, let's stop here, guys. Let's get over to our community events and announcements. We have some cool stuff coming up here for you guys, the way we have this set up. So I want to give enough time for Peter to get through this and kind of show our new layout here. We're going to start from the first screen because Norm did a nice job on this here.
well, cool. This will be all new to me too. All right. So, guys, every week we have a schedule of events that we put forward. And this gives you a good visual of how it works. So, Mondays are always about introducing new people to the room. With that, we've got the onboarding class in the evening at 8 o'clock with Carlos and the technology with Kyle. If you're in the room during the day, then you get the opportunity to listen to a market overview and a swing trade review with Brian, which normally happens in the afternoon. Tuesdays are strategy days where we always have a set strategy review in the evening, usually at 8, sometimes at 5, because we have global people that come and present. So if they're in another part of the world, we may make it earlier. And of course, again, in the room, we've got Eamon doing his trade reviews on Tuesday, and you'll see him do that again on Thursday. Those are focused reviews where we take your trades and we go over them and give you some perspective, food for thought, and ways to improve or enhance your trading. Wednesday is Psychology Day, where we have, as you know, Creta usually here in the morning, and then we've got webinars in the evening. Over to Thursday, like I was mentioning, we have Eamon, and then it's Mentorship Day with Andrew during the day here in the room. We've got Ed doing mentorship in his room after hours. We've got Thor with an evening mentorship. I mean, just look, we got a packed week for you every week. Fridays, when we can, are usually crypto sessions, and Jared hosts us 11. All of that being said, don't forget, we are here for the pre-market show every day. We've got engineering the markets Monday to Thursday. We've got live trading for every second that the markets are open. So, I mean, there is always stuff happening at Bear Bull that can keep you on top of the markets and on top of your trading strategies. All right, so with that, let's talk specifically what you're going to be seeing. This week, we had our strategy session on Tuesday at 8 o'clock with Joel. We were so thankful for him to host. I know Joel was a little upset. We were hearing a beeping in the background. Turns out he had a smoke detector that was, battery was dying. Murphy's Law, right? Always happens. But that did not distract from the fantastic session that he gave. The recording is done, and it should be up in our education center. Next week, John is going to be joining us with the topic resetting your trading life. So, becoming a trader is not an easy challenge, and there's often things that we have to undertake that we don't expect when you start the journey. He's going to go over those and give you some pointers and thoughts next Tuesday, the 7th at 8 p.m. You're right. It says, well, it was November the 30th. That's when he did it. Sorry. It's like from a psychology session. Again, these are normally on Wednesday. This week we had to move Creta till Tuesday, but she did the first part of a series where she's taking some of our traders through a mentorship process, and you were there for the journey. She issued them homework, which you can also do yourself, and then come back with the results at her next session, which will be later in the month of December. So it's a great opportunity. If you didn't see it live, watch the recording, and you can sort of benefit from that personal mentorship membership as well. Next week, we've got Dr. Kenneth Reed back with us on December the 8th. Remember, early time, like I mentioned, because of where he is. That's at 5 p.m. He's going to be talking to us about his keys to consistency, the second part of that session. Like we tell you every day. Sorry, next slide, Carlos. There we go. Oh, no. Whoa. Oh, they changed order on me. Okay. Like we tell you every day, we have great appreciation for anybody that donates to the super chat or the super sticker revenue. If you were here yesterday morning, we had a little donate off. I won, by the way. No matter what you guys say about Canadian dollars, I still it was 50.
Oh wait, that was Canadian dollars. Oh no, you then Jared wins, man.
Yeah, but I had to pay taxes on that. They actually charged me taxes, so it came.
We don't care about your taxes, Peter.
Anyways, look, the donations are just hugely appreciated, everybody. This year they're going to Shriners Children's charities, and we really appreciate your donations, and we match them dollar for dollar. Hopefully, not only do we have all of the webinars and the sessions, the psychology sessions, but we also like to give out free stuff. Andrew has developed a trading simulator that he's just making free. It's available to anybody. You do not have to be a member. So if you're listening in YouTube, try it. Why not? Use it. Everybody should go to stocktradingsimulator.com and use the replay tool. It'll allow you to sort of step through the market, test your strategies. You can take trades in it. Not only can you see the charts, you can get the time and sales information. It's really sort of a great resource, and you can run two different stocks simultaneously. If you want a market index and your stock, or two different stocks, you can sort of watch them move side by side. It's a great way to test strategies and practice your trading. So go there anytime, any day. It's always available to you. And last but not least, we really would love if you would consider joining us here in the chat room. Like we say, we've got tons of people. Yesterday, I asked to see who was new, and you guys flooded me with messages about saying hello for all the new people. So thank you so much for those that have recently joined. If you want to test drive us, use the code PREMARKET24 to get a discount off of our test drive. It gives you 7 days, sort of a full week of trading. That's 5 sort of trading days in the room. And it really just gives you access to the chat room and our introduction webinars. If you want access to all of the training material that we were talking about, including the psychology webinars and our strategy webinars, then you need to sign up for either our basic or elite memberships, and you can get access to that information. So hopefully we will see you here, and you will join us for the long term.
All right. Thank you very much, Peter. All right, guys, let's get to some levels here. As we're doing that, please hit that thumbs up over on YouTube. We appreciate it very, very much. We're sitting at 129 likes. We would love to be at around 250 to 300 is the sweet spot. So if you can help us get there, we appreciate it very much. So Hiram is asking, I joined late. Is there any stocks with catalyst today? So if you take a look at our watch list this morning, is basically everything that has been trading up or down in the last 2 days, right? The overall news with the market, the SPY, everything happening is affecting these big stocks. Obviously, you can see the SPY here with the increased volume, the range that we're getting. We were, as I mentioned earlier, before Brian getting on a plane to his vacation in Mexico, stocks were up. The SPY was up about 1%. He lands and is down quite a bit, right? So it's just the volatility has been insane, and these type of moves here in the markets are going to create some great movements on these stocks that we have here. So, for example, Apple, BA is the only one that I know has a catalyst, as you mentioned, Peter. Then everything else is pretty much reacting to the market, right? So I think we have a pretty good list for today, and your list could look completely different than this. There's other stocks out there that are also reacting to the way the market is moving lately. So you can have something different and you can do okay today. Let's start with Apple, which is one of the very nice ones this morning. Their volume is already at 4.1 million. They are down 3% here, getting a little bit of a bounce off 158.49. So we'll slam a level right on there. Above this, we do have a kind of area of resistance here. over at 161.96. I'm going to mark that there. You can see a little bit of action here in the pre-market as well. You got a couple of touches on there, nothing major, but you got a little bit of stuff going on there. Then the high of the pre-market is slamming all the way up here around 164. Not really going to mark that down because we have our previous day close here already doing that for us. And we also have the highs from 2 days ago. So again, plenty of support resistance happening there. You do not need to add anything else. If we were to drop lower, below this 158.49, we have a nice little spot right over here, over at around 156, 157. Nice area support that we can hopefully find a little bit of a support there, all depending on what the SPY wants to do today. Heading down, we do have BA, one that's gapping up this morning, 5.4 after a big drop yesterday. Here we have the low of the pre-market over at 190. So 190 is the low of the pre-market. Below that, you have the previous day close from yesterday. The low from yesterday is also in the same level as well. And then towards the top, you got the highs and lows from the last 2 trading days. So a lot of stuff happening there as far as levels. Your pre-market high is slightly above this 199. I'm not going to worry too much about this here. I think we got a good level here at 199 already, 199.53 to be exact. If you want to see the exact number, you can always look up here. And this right here in the montage is going to give you the range, right? The high so far and the low of the range of the day, right? So you can look up here to get the exact number if that's your thing, right? Above this, guys, we got some good levels here. Above that, we have another level here, 204.95, might be actually 205 there. As far as BA. So BA looking good, guys. Great pre-market action. And we especially love the volume we're getting here on BA. AMD this morning getting, again, just a little bit of a drop. And AMD has been just so fun to trade. 146.80 is the low of the pre-market. We're sitting right at a great area of support and resistance. We dropped down yesterday right to that 150-ish level, and we held here. We're below that now, almost 1%. Let's see how things are going to shape out today. Looking up here, high of the pre-market above the previous day close, and that's going to be sitting over at a 151.65. So we'll slam a level there on AMD. If we were to lose this very, very nice support level that we had the last couple of days, heading down here, we do have 142. Okay level, not major, but this one down here, I do like this one quite a bit, 138. I don't think we'll get there, but man, the way things have been trading, anything is possible. Here is CCL with amazing volume as well. Again, these travel companies, prior to all the madness the last couple of days, they've been seeing, just a huge drop, right? Big drop on some of these travel companies there as things continue to kind of just deteriorate a little bit for them. High of the pre-market at the moment for CCL is taken care of by the low from 2 days ago. Right on here, that's 17.15. The low of the pre-market this morning down over at a 16.58. So we'll slam a level there as well. And if we were to lose this level, that is the previous day close and the low from yesterday, let's head on back here and see what do we have. When's the last time we've been here? It's probably been a while. We're going back to October, November timeframe of last year. And yeah, we have a nice level here at 15. Yeah, good level at 15. Love this one here. A lot of touches on this, a lot of support. Resistance happening at that 15 level, and then in between here you have another one. Again, nothing, not major, but there is a couple of days opening, closing around this area. This is 15.83. So I think you're pretty much set as far as levels there when it comes to CCL. Next we have American Airlines, another travel company here as well. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the travel companies has kind of been taking a hit already, and in the last couple of days you've seen some increase in volatility towards the downside, obviously. Here, high of the pre-market for these guys is 16.80, so we'll put a level there. Low of the pre-market hanging out at 16.44. Below that, just like CCL, you have the low and the previous day close from yesterday. Heading back, it's probably going to be the same area, right? October, November. This is actually was here back in February, so a little bit earlier here. We can see levels around 15.50 is good, and then down here over at a 14.83. So both of these sitting at a good spot right now where they have again bounced from before pretty aggressively. Right over here, if you look at the last time we were here, we had some good movement out of this. Are we going to break down from here is going to be the key. Here's Lucid, very explosive EV. They are down 1.4 million shares traded. They're slightly below this area of gray support. Let's see if they can hold there. They're actually right on it. Low of the pre-market right now is going to be 49.85. They have an amazing pre-market activity. Lost the previous day close here with some good movement and just trying to hold here above this 49.86. So let's see if that can hold there. I'm going to mark down. The only thing that we really need towards the top is the high of the pre-market. I think that's a good one there at 52.56. And towards the bottom, if we were to lose this, I love this level here, the 47.61, because we came up here, we slammed up against that, found some good resistance, came back down. This now becomes another level of support and resistance, right? Resistance here and becomes support. And then you can see the pop right back up to this 47.61. Then we had the nice breakout, right? So beautiful daily here on Lucid. The last couple of weeks, we've just been chopping around here. Let's see how this is going to play out. I think it's looking very, very good this morning. Our possibles list, we have mRNA, which is very active today. QCOM, QCOM, I'm going to remove it. I think we have better possibles here. NVIDIA is on deck as well. I got Apple and I got AMD here on the tech side, but NVIDIA, guys, do not sleep on NVIDIA. They're looking very, very good as well. Actually should be on our top list. This is looking very, very nice. 2.2 million. I love their dailies, very clean. It's actually cleaner than AMD probably as far as the daily goes, right? So that's real nice there. United, another one, a travel company here as well. AMC had a nice day yesterday, and the day before it seems to be dropping nice here. Good possible. PLTR as well, another one, and Plug also looking very good. There's tons of stuff to watch today, guys. Let's take a look at our risky stuff here. We have DWAC, which is starting to drop down. I do not have shares for short on this, so I'm going to remove it. Let's just get rid of this for now. OMER. Oh, I don't like that. It's going right through the levels here. Got to be careful on this one, guys. It's not finding any support anywhere at the moment. So going to the VWAP, going to the moving averages, through the 20 right now. And if it continues this way, it just doesn't become any fun, especially if you're a low flow or a riskier type stock like this one is. So careful on this one. Still up 20%, 5.3. But that's not a good sign here, at least for right now. We can find support later. It might be one that we can watch and take advantage of. All right, perfect. That is what we have. Peter, anything that has come up in the last couple of minutes that we might need to get into, or are we okay so far?
Yeah, nothing new.
Okay, excellent. With that said, let's get over to our moderators lineup and let's see what's going on here this morning. I'm going to bring this up. Let's resize that. And here we go. Let's move this over a little bit here. Perfect. All right. So what do we have here? We have Peter, no IPOs today. We have a couple of SPACs. Aiming looking at INTC, BAC, and Apple. Potential shorts, PLTR, BA, and Riot. And not a great list for me today. Trade safe. Peter, you're looking at AMD, American Airlines, and BA, Apple, secondary, Lucid, CCL, and DWAC on your list. Jared, you're looking at AMC, AMD, Apple, Lucid, and Tesla, and secondary list DWAC and PHUN. There's some announcements there by Abio. Very good. Dima, you are looking at Apple, AMD, and BA, and Tiffany's looking at Apple, Lucid, and NVIDIA. So very, very nice list here so far, guys. So, all right, looking very good there. We are done slightly early. Let's see if there's anything else going on that we might get into. But again, I think we have an amazing list already. Here's the SPY, guys. All eyes on the SPY today, the overall market. Let's see if we can hold this previous day close line. Volume is increasing every time we get here, as you can see. It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be really, really interesting because I don't think we haven't had a drop like this in a while, right? Not back to back.
Yeah, so. And it's tough to know. Like the thing, having been here through the close yesterday, Jared and I actually traded AMC, or more or less he traded AMC. I just tagged along for the ride. But we did not see, I didn't see panic, right? While the SPY dropped, and certainly we had a weak day yesterday. There's no denying that. It didn't feel like people were panicking, for the exits in most cases. So. AMC was sort of the one exception where it really dropped hard on big volume. That's why we sort of took a bounce reversal on it. But Carlos, I think it's just going to be interesting. It's going to be fun to watch and see what happens. Personally, I'm not a huge open trader. Today's one of those days where I'm extra cautious because I don't really have any clue which direction the market's going to go. So I'm just going to wait for things to set up. There's lots of time. I don't need to trade the first 5, 10, even 15 minutes. My setups will come as long as I'm patient for them. Like Credo was teaching us yesterday, find your animal. Mine's the alligator in the water, right? The crocodile. I'll just sit there as a croc in the water and wait for my meal ticket to come by.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with the way things are now, guys, it's going to be when you see this type of volatility and so much action and volume in the pre-market, these stocks tend to be a little bit funky right at the open. So that first 15 minutes, 30 minutes, just be careful. With the way things are moving, trust me, these things are going to be in play all day. They're going to be in play all day. So if that's your style to trade a little bit early on, 5 minute, 10 minute into the market, and you get stopped out a couple of times, just kind of hold off a little bit, save some ammo for later in the morning. I guarantee you're going to find something because it's just going to be that type of day for sure. All right, with that said, I think we are all set here. SPY's looking good. Quick recap on what we have here. We have on our main list, we have Apple looking very good. Beautiful pre-market action, 4.6 million shares traded. We have BA also looking very good this morning. AMD has been exceptionally fun to trade, and here you can see a nice little drop. Great action, 700,000 already. We have CCL up this morning by 1.7, so that's interesting there. American Airlines up slightly as well, and then we have Lucid down 1.8 with some good volume after a nice drop here on 7 a.m. So let's see if it's going to hold this 59. It seems like it wants to go back and retest this support one more time there. So okay, excellent, guys. We are good to go. I don't think we missed anything else. Waiting to see if any other moderators are gonna hop out their list over here. We're having a little bit of fun here on the chat with a couple of pictures
Everybody
of
posting their spirit animals. There's a surprising number of sloths out there. A duck-billed platypus. I'm not sure what Mad Max is, whether he's the guy being chased by the kangaroo or the kangaroo. But anyways,
So
some praying mantises.
Absolutely. So guys, we are all set. Andrew is going to come up. I know Brian is on vacation, but Andrew will be trading live today, and I'm not sure who's going to be he'll be pairing up with this morning, but he'll be live in a second here at 9:30, taking us to the open, and we are all set to go. I think he's firing up his computer right now over on YouTube. Guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Did we get to our 250 number? Did we do that? Oh, 180. Oh, 180. Okay, if we can we do 250, guys? We really appreciate it if we could do that. But guys, have a happy Thursday. Trade safe. Again, be careful, patient with this type of volatility that we're getting here in the market. Do not rush into things. Things will be in play the entire day. 195, very good. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys hitting that thumbs up very much. All right, I'm gonna hand it over to Andrew. Is that Norm? Oh, is that Norm back there on Andrew's camera? I thought I saw Norm. Let's show you YouTube.
There he is. Oh, look at that.
We got everybody in here. All right, let me bring this over there.
And does Mike already have a beer in hand? What is that?
I think he does.
What's that?
Is that a beer that Mike has?
Hand, Mike? Oh, Red Bull. Red Bull and
no, it's coffee.
Coffee. Oh,
coffee. All right. All right. So there it is. BBT family getting ready for our Vancouver meetup there, guys. All right, guys, over on YouTube, thank you so much. We're going to let you guys go. Trade safe, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 a.m. No, tomorrow's Friday, 8:30 with pre-market prep. Take care, everybody.
Take care, everyone.